So what does it take to write in a persuasive way? What do you need to do to be able to express your ideas well? And what is required to write strong dissertation arguments? In this video, I'm going to explain the structure of an argument, a vital skill you should develop if you want to write a top dissertation. I'm Miguel Moital from the Dissertation Academy, bringing you unique tips and tools to help you write a better dissertation. On this channel, we share a lot of unique tips and tools, so if you're new here, consider subscribing. Minor changes to your writing style can make a huge difference to the quality of your dissertation. So give this video a go to learn how to write a more compelling dissertation. Time to understand what strong arguments are made of. Halfway through my own PhD, one of my supervisors felt I needed to improve the quality of my arguments and recommended me a book on critical thinking by 𝗪𝗪𝗧𝗔. I often tell my colleagues and students that reading this book tremendously improved my writing style. And after 12 years of school, 5 years at university plus 2 years of PhD study, I was finally learning what good arguments are made of. From this point onwards, I could write much more purposefully. I was much more conscious about what I was writing about and how I could structure my ideas. I see this ability to write strong arguments as so important that even today I share the first chapter of that book with my students. Understanding arguments can be somewhat challenging, so I've developed a simple and intuitive way of explaining how arguments work, which I am now sharing with you because I don't want you to have to wait 20 years to learn these as I've had to wait. Before we start, it's important to highlight that arguments are an essential skill to be able to write a critical, corroborated, and captivating dissertation. These are 3 of the 6 C's of academic writing excellence, and if you haven't watched the video about the 6 C's yet, I strongly recommend that you do it. The link is in the description below and at the end of this video. So, what is an argument made of? An argument is made up of 2 main parts or statements, the conclusion and the premises. The conclusion is the particular idea you want the reader to accept as the truth, while the premises are the evidence that underpins the conclusion. So the conclusion is accepted depending on its ability to be supported by the evidence. This means that it is from the evaluation of the evidence that the reader will accept or reject the conclusion. The best analogy that I could come up with to explain the structure of an argument is to think of an argument as if it represents the structure of a house. The roof is the conclusion and the pillars are the premises. The more pillars there are supporting the roof, the more solid the roof will be. But if we start to remove the pillars from a solid house, and eventually remove them all, then the roof will collapse. From here, we can conclude that the more and the better the evidence supporting the conclusion, the stronger the argument will be. Let's look at an example to see how this principle works in practice. Here you have a paragraph from a journal article which is an argument. When we want to analyze an argument, one good method to use is to start by separating each sentence. This makes it a lot easier to identify which statements are premises and which are conclusions. If we read each statement, we start to grasp what the authors are trying to persuade us to accept and what evidence they are providing to support the conclusion of that argument. Can you identify the conclusion and the 4 premises? In this case, the conclusion is at the beginning, and there are 4 premises as given by each of the other sentences. Let's see how our house looks like. If we were to somehow be able to bring in evidence which prove that partnership approaches to planning are neither complex nor time-consuming, then the pillar would not stand. We would be left with a weakened but still fairly strong house because there are still 3 pillars to support the roof. If we were to continue to counter-argue and dismiss the pillars, for example by proving that approaches for developed countries have success when applied in less developed countries, the pillar would be removed and the roof would weaken substantially. If we were able to prove that there is a tradition in participating in decision-making, then only one pillar would be left supporting the roof, weakening the structure even further. Finally, if we were to continue to counter-argue and manage to bring in evidence that groups do not refuse to work with others, the last pillar would also be removed and gravity would bring the roof down. In other words, we would have removed all the evidence supporting the conclusion, and because the conclusion could not be accepted as the truth anymore, there would be no strong argument left. The house example illustrates just the basics of an argument, but there's a lot more to it. For example, the logic of an argument, the strength of the evidence, checking implicit assumptions, which are, by the way, a great strategy to weaken others' arguments. In addition, in the real world, you won't be making a single argument, as in the example explained in this video. Your dissertation will be a large multi-level argument, and understanding how multi-level arguments work is essential to write a good dissertation. I explain these issues related to writing strong arguments in the Dissertation Academy's virtual tutor online resource, a video book-based resource containing these and other unique tips and tools to help you write a better dissertation. So if you're looking to improve your ability to express ideas in a more persuasive and captivating way, consider subscribing to the resource. The details are shown in the description below. Now I would like you to go back to something that you've written recently and try to apply these principles to it. Is there a conclusion? Or in other words, are you making it clear what are you trying to persuade the reader to accept? If you have a conclusion, are you providing evidence to support that conclusion? Or can you bring even more evidence to strengthen the house and therefore strengthen the argument? Or maybe you've lots of evidence but you're not making the conclusion clear. If this is the case, what is it that you're trying to persuade the reader to accept? Once you apply the basic principles of an argument to your own writing, I would love to hear about your examples, so write them down in the comments box. If you want to know more about how to write great dissertations, tap the screen on the right-hand side for more videos. And if you like the video, give it a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe to the Dissertation Academy channel, as this will help me to grow the channel. That's all for now. See you next time.